It's time for our panel discussion. Let me introduce them. As a natural empath, Coen has learned to turn his sensitivity into a strength in helping people harness their innate gifts to inspire and influence. Over the last 12 years, Coen has inspired more than 42,000 individuals in over 10 countries through speaking, training, and coaching in the areas of executive communications and business storytelling. Let's welcome Coen Tan. Our next panelist is a global speaker and author of Setback Leadership, who has inspired more than 45,000 business leaders from 5 countries to take inspired action through her speeches, masterclasses, workshops, consulting, and coaching. She passionately believes setbacks are awesome. Using the power of setback leadership, she helps clients leverage failures to accelerate their professional and personal growth, thereby assisting organizations in reaching their leadership goals. Let's give it up for Srijata Bhatnagar. Our next panelist is an international speaker and best-selling author who believes in the genius of the Pinoy. As a leadership coach, Irish native Mike has traveled to 39 countries around the world, but he believes that there is something very special about the Filipino. Today, he works as a consultant for People Dynamics, where he travels across the Philippines, inspiring, empowering, and motivating Pinoys every week to become world-class and believe in the Filipino dream. Mike Grogan, welcome. Our last panelist is none other than the founder of Wright University, a trusted global speaker on gratitude and creativity, and the founder of the 90-Day Speak to Thrive Challenge and Speak to Thrive Summit, Sha Nacino. The panel discussion will be moderated by an internationally certified Gallup Clifton Strengths coach. Her mission is to help other people embrace that they are wonderfully made through workshops on positive psychology, theology of the body, and through singing. Let's welcome back Kat Aristorenas.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Srijata, Coen, Mike. Thank you for being with Sha and me this afternoon. So all of us actually, we have a group chat, right? And we've been waiting for this afternoon to actually see each other face to face, albeit virtually. So thank you. We're excited for this discussion. And I'd just like to add, Mike, I understand from Pat, happily married to Mary and that you have a cute son named Malaya. Tama ba?
Yes, so.
Okay, is it okay?
Yes, so ang background noise, ang ingay dito, the noise in my background is ang aking patawarin mo ko. Forgive me if there's background noise.
No worries. That's part of our new normal. Being at home, we have various background noises. All right. So this afternoon, as we've seen in the pandemic and this crisis, the growing need to speak and to present ourselves well has increased because of the various online streaming platforms, right? And our purpose this afternoon for this panel discussion is for us, for everyone here in the panel, to share how important speaking skills are for everyone, for anyone to thrive in our personal as well as professional lives. So let me just address the audience this afternoon. So I'd like to invite you just to comment down below in the chat while we are going through our discussion. This is the question for you, our dear audience. In your own experiences, how important are speaking skills in helping you thrive in your personal and professional lives? Please put them in the comments below and we'll go back to them later on. So we're excited to see your answers. Now let's go back to our wonderful, wonderful panel this afternoon. So my first question, anyone can answer. What were you like, just to get a feel of, before you guys became global speakers and authors as well, what were you like before you became famous, as my impression is. Global and international speakers, were you shy? Were you already confident?
I'll start first. Before I became a speaker, I was a very shy person. When I was in school, right, I didn't even know how to make friends. I like the girls, but I don't have the courage to talk to them at all, or even to look them in the eye. So I, as an empath, I've always grown up being a very sensitive person to my environment, and sometimes I do not know what to do with the environment, and I don't know how to do it. So the world was a dangerous place for me. So I kept myself away from people. I lived a very lonely life. So I would say that before I became a speaker, I was a very shy and quiet person.
Thank you, Coen. Yes.
How did you get married then? I have a question for Coen.
Sure. Go ahead.
Did you get married before you became a speaker or after you became a speaker? If you couldn't talk to the girls.
After I became a speaker.
There you go.
There you go. So the benefit number one is already there.
I think we have an answer for how we can thrive in our personal lives.
Absolutely. So, the moment you asked this question, Kat, how were you before you became famous? And the only sentence that came in my mind was, I was infamous. Now, why do I say that? Well, I was a very outgoing and extrovert person. I'm still a very extrovert and outgoing person, but I didn't know how to channelize my extrovert, the talks, the point of views in the right manner to have a conducive kind of a conversation. I would end up having fights with everyone, and that's how I became infamous.
All right.
So becoming a speaker actually helped me channelize my point of views, my thoughts in a conducive manner, which doesn't hurt the other person.
Okay. All right. So to what you said, Srijata, so I hear that speaking has actually helped you with your interpersonal relationships in a positive way. Instead of hurting them, now you perhaps charm them, or you have meaningful connections, as Sha mentioned earlier, Srijata.
Srijata, no prizes for guessing who is the boss at home, yeah?
No, not at all.
All right. Anyone would like to add to that to the answers?
Well, I'll just briefly add, I think there's a phrase that says every master was once a disaster. So there's been many seasons in my life before anyone saw me on a stage where I was really struggling. And I'm very grateful that I got into communities like Toastmasters and groups that could help me and mentor me and coach me. So I think just on behalf of the speakers here, I think we're all very blessed that mentors have come along and coaches, because no one is born a world-class speaker. It's something that has to be worked at. So I'm sure there's some embarrassing videos of all three of us, all four of us here, all five of us here that will verify that.
That's true.
Oh, yes. I can relate with that, Mike. I remember I posted a video of myself covering the rains in the city, and I posted it on Facebook. And then my brother and my papa were talking to each other, and they were telling, please tell Sha to delete the video. Because it was so embarrassing. But for me, I was just having fun. So that was how I started.
All right. Thank you. So I'm loving the words that are coming out now. So infamous, disaster, to global and competent international speakers. All right. So while we're still in the story of how you began, I'd like to ask another question to this point. If yes, you just think of yourself as starting out as a speaker. If you can redo things, knowing what you know today, what would you do differently?
Well, I think I'll speak less than I used to do earlier.
How come, Srijata? Why would you choose to speak less?
Because that's what I'm saying, right? If I knew that you need to use your words carefully. And when you want to be a better speaker, you need to be a better listener. I think I was a bad listener earlier, right? And because I was a bad listener earlier, I would keep speaking without really understanding what I was speaking, right? So that that used to, and I'm being serious, all right? Don't laugh, guys. I'm being serious here. All right, no, but seriously, I'm saying that just because I was not a good listener earlier, I think the speaking skills were not used properly. So, had I known this before, I would be a better listener and speak judiciously, carefully, at the right time, for the right person, and for the right reason.
Yes, that's true. I think from what you mentioned, Srijata, including timing, right? So we have to also know when to say things and when to say the right things, right? Especially if we want to take care of our relationships. I think I saw Coen agreeing with something that you said. Coen, would you like to
I
say
was laughing not at Srijata. I was laughing with you, Srijata, because what you said speaks so much to me, because I always say the wrong things when I was trying to the reason why is because when I started speaking, I started reclaiming my voice. I started to get really, really excited about being able to speak, but I do not use it judiciously, and I just speak whenever I have the opportunities to do so, and I really end up turning people away instead of attracting people towards me. And so I would say that one of the key skills is not only just be a great listener, to listen to know to what people are saying, but also to listen to how people are saying it, to listen to what people are not saying but want to say, and also listen to the underlying thoughts, feelings, and inspiration behind what they're saying. I think as speakers, very often we speak because we just have a voice, because we have a message. But I think the most important thing is that message of service to people, right? And the only way for us to know that is to really listen to what people really want, to listen to what they're missing in their life, what would be helpful, what would add value to them, and then your speech will be valuable. And so I just want to build on what Srijata said.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And yeah. Okay. And Coen, I read up a little bit about you. And one thing that strikes me from what you just said now is I can hear your strength of being an empath. You mentioned that aside from taking note of what people say verbally, we also need to take note of the nonverbal cues, because it's actually also a part of communication. And so I just heard that. Of course, coming from my background as a strengths coach, we usually spot those little things. And I totally agree with you and Srijata that I thought listening was easy. I don't know if you could relate with that, but it's hard.
Thinking that it is easy is actually part of the problem.
There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes when we think it's easy, how hard can it be, right? But actually, we hear but not listen. Yeah.
And so to our audiences out there who may have just heard this, that listening is not easy, don't be shocked. Well, we were shocked. I think I was a little bit shocked when I first heard it. But this is actually one of the best learnings that you can get so far from this panel discussion, that we have to unlearn the way we listen to other people. And does anyone have anything else to add to that insight? Unlearning bad habits in listening and moving towards something better?
So I just add a feedback that I got when I was a junior trainer. So I worked as a corporate trainer for 10 years. And feedback, I thought I was very good. I was very arrogant. I thought I was one of the best trainers. Oh, I like to entertain. I I had a story in my head. But one of my mentors gave me feedback that was the best feedback I ever got. And it's, Mike, the more you talk, the less they learn. So that feedback changed my life. And I really mean that from a sense. And it just connects beautifully to what Coen and Srijata just said, in terms of sometimes if as speakers, as trainers, as influencers, we need to create more space for anung sa tingin mo. asking the audience, what do you think about this? Like to share a story maybe, or share a point, and then give them time to reflect, especially if you have a venue as a trainer or as a coach where you can actually allow them to think. So yeah, I echo the comments that was just made by our two guest speakers.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. That's very true. Okay, so let me go to my next question. So from you have your own journey from being infamous, from being disasters into these very competent speakers. So how did you hone your communication skills? And in connection to with this, please share your number one tip. So your top one tip.
I can go first since I went last the last time.
Yes. Go, Mike.
So, finding mentors. For example, Les Brown, even though I never met the guy, became a mentor of mine, a virtual mentor of mine, in terms of watching his recordings and learning his techniques and the science behind delivering not just a story, but the science of how people pay attention. So find those handful of speakers that you look up to as heroes, and break down the science of what they're doing behind the scenes. So that for me, obsessing with my heroes in how they speak really, really helped me in terms of all the ideas that I was able to take from them. So that's my number one tip.
All right, mentors.
I'll double click on that. I'll just add to that. Yes, mentors. I have the chance to meet Les Brown in Malaysia about 6 to 7 years ago. That guy is a legend, man. He's a legend, mate. And always be learning. Always be learning. I think that's one of the tips. I'm always learning from several mentors as well, and that's exactly where I met Sha as well. And she's also a great a mentor as well for me, because we learn from each other. You know, we're kind of like peers, and we always exchange ideas and exchange notes. To add to that, I would say that the best tip is to own your weirdness and imperfections. I remember how we used to be when we were young and we were in school, and we were often, not fitting in, and we kind of think that, we think things that people don't think, we feel things that people don't feel, and we think to ourselves, gee, I must be weird. But then, is it no surprise that when we grow up and when we go into the workplace, or we go into become entrepreneurs and business people, we struggle to stand out, because we are like, how can I be differentiated from the other people? But when you were younger, remember, you were different, but you lost that opportunity to be different because you think of yourself as weird. So I think if you really want to be a great speaker, own your weirdness and imperfections. I was totally inspired by listening to Sha sing, in Boracay. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever do that. That's really scary for me. I can speak, but I don't think I can sing. But that's very inspiring, Sha. So I think it's important to own our weirdness and imperfections.
Embrace your weirdness. Yeah, go ahead, Srijata. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to pick up on what Coen was saying, because I felt that, owning your imperfections, owning your vulnerabilities is something that really makes you the person that you are, the beautiful person that you are, right? And, wear this with a badge of honor. And I always say that. And I'm just going to share a quick story here. How did I hone my speaking skills, right? So I come from a very small town in India where we don't speak English. We speak the local language there. In India, there are thousands of local languages, and I grew up speaking one of those local languages called Bengali, right? And I studied in that language. I communicated in that language, and there came a point when I had to go to a big city, in a metropolitan city, like how you go from a province to Manila, like that I had to go from a small town to a city in India called Chennai to do my MBA marketing. And I stand there, and the day of my induction, where all the new students are supposed to give a 2-minute speech, just 2-minute speech. And guess what? Thank God my name was Srijata, so therefore I was last in the list, because A, B, C, D, E, F, so thank God for that. So I was probably one of the last ones to give my speech, right? And I go on the stage, I'm sweating. I'm having a cold feet. I am fumbling. The person, the talkative Srijata is gone somewhere else. And I'm completely lost what to say. In that broken space, in that complete broken, shaken state, I just say, I want to be one of the biggest entrepreneur in the country. And guess what happened? The entire crowd broke into laughter because I spoke in broken English. And they just dismissed the entire thing that I said because my communication skill was bad. That was the nail in the coffin. And I decided that this was the day I will learn speaking English well in next 3 months' time. I went and got myself enrolled in an English speaking institute, found a mentor, as rightly Mike said. Thankfully, the mentor that I found, she was brilliant and amazing, and she knew exactly how to nurture me, and within 3 months, I completely turned the table. So that's how I really became a good English speaking professional. Till then, I was speaking well, but I was speaking in my vernacular language.
Wow, I love what you said, Srijata, Coen, and Mike. Just to add to what you said, one of the most important lessons I learned from a speaking mentor is this: the most important role of a speaker is to love the audience. I learned that from Robin Seeger. And a lot of times when we speak in front of other people, we're so conscious, we're so nervous because our thought bubble is, what will they say? What if I make a mistake, right? How can I impress other people? So it becomes about us, the speakers. But in reality, speaking is never about the speaker, it's about serving the audience. And then later on in my journey as a speaker, I'd like to add to what my mentor said. So the most important role of a speaker is to love the audience. But for you to be able to go to that point, you need to learn to love yourself first. And what that means is you give yourself the space to make mistakes, to experiment, to not be perfect, and to be laughed at. And maybe you can laugh with them as well. Because oftentimes we put too much pressure on ourselves. But if we learn to love ourselves unconditionally, then we can say, okay, I can make a mistake, I can make a fool of myself. And at the end of the day, I will still love and accept myself. I find it cute that I make mistakes or things like that. And so because you're not afraid, because you know that at the end of the day, you will always be loved by the most important person in your life, yourself. Now you are free to be yourself, to be who you really are. You are free to fly. Because a lot of times, it is us who is our greatest critic. So, there, love the audience, but love yourself first. So you can love the audience better.
I love that. I love that. So there's so much love going on here in the panel. And let me just go to the comment section. Let me just read. So people are loving loving us as well. And they love the discussion. So they also would like to know more about your mentors as well. So aside from the people that you mentioned, sorry, I can't remember how you pronounce it. Is it Les Brown? All right, okay. Aside from him, and then aside from Robin Seeger, are there any other mentors that you would like to recommend to our audiences today? Maybe one each again, if you like, so they can take note of it. Aside from you guys as well, of course.
I would recommend an organization. It's called Toastmasters.
Okay. Thank you, Sha.
Welcome.
Yes, I think I would agree with Shah here. Instead of one particular mentor, I have always believed in having many. That's where you learn from many and you learn a lot, learn to expand your mindset, your learning, your vocabulary, your way of speaking in a multiple ways. So I would agree with Shah here. If you are looking to better your speaking skills, then Toastmasters is, hands down, you have to join it. You just have to join it and you will be getting better in your speaking skills.
Since
For
you're
me-
sorry, Mike.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
For
sure,
me,
go ahead.
it's been studying the most viral and popular TED Talks and asking myself, why was this talk viral? Why did this person was able to deliver such an effective message that was shared by so many people? So studying success, and obviously the TED Talks are very short, only 15 minutes, and you can pick so many different topics. that's personally helped me. I've stolen so many ideas and inspiration from watching those different speakers from different topics. But there's a science and almost an art of great speaking, and I think that's one great free resource that's available to all of us. Sorry, Coen, your next tip.
Great. I'm just nodding my head until it's like falling off. I'm learning so much from the fellow panelists as well. I think indeed we have more than one mentors. When the students is ready, all the teachers would appear from everywhere, right? I think I'll take something more left field. I think sometimes we can have a cross-domain learning. I have become a better speaker after I flew to London and spent 10 days learning improv theater. And the reason why I was able to do that was because one of my mentors, Ron Kaufman in Singapore, listened to a speech. In fact, it was this speech that he listened to, the one in my background. He listened to that speech and he said, Coen, you had great dramatic potential. And I remember when I was back in school, I acted in literature class and people called me stupid, crazy, and they told me to shut up. And I was so hurt by the experience that it took Ron Kaufman to say, Coen, you got to find your acting voice again. So I went to learn theater, and learning theater has helped me to kind of like open up even more courage to express myself and to be able to, learn how to tell a great story so that you can become captivating and compelling on stage. And so I would say that sometimes we only focus on speaking, but we can learn a lot from other domains like learning a foreign language. For me, it was French, learning theater, and also learning other things like, marketing and writing copy, because the kind of skills that you learn in persuasive copywriting can be used in persuasive speaking as well. So I would say cross-domain learning.
Love it.
Wow. I'm learning a lot from our discussion so far. Did somebody want to say something? Sha, was it you?
I was just nodding my head as well.
All right. Okay. And here I am sharing a thumbs up. All right. So let me just recap a bit for our audience for this question. So there's Les Brown, Robin Seeger as mentors, and of course, Srijata mentioned it's important, it's better to go with more mentors and not just one. So, and also go to Toastmasters, the organization to help you with your speaking skills. And Mike also mentioned TED Talks. Just watch them 15 minutes, maybe one a day, and steal some ideas from them as well. And cross-domain learning. I love that. So actually now, because we have Zoom, well, you can actually go anywhere today and take advantage of that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere as well. So Zoom, I think, is here to stay. So and let me just read an interesting comment just in relation to what we already discussed, that speaking is an art, speaking is a skill, and speaking can help us grow. So this Des Reyes Leia Juba, she says that as an educator, it is a must that I know how to talk and teach my students. Later, I found out that speaking is somewhat different from talking. Everybody can talk, but not all have the skill to speak. Speaking is a skill, I thought, quite an art as well. For when you speak, you channel encouragements and inspiration to your listeners. And when I speak, it helps me grow professionally and embrace confidence as well. All right. So for this part of the panel discussion, I'm going to go one by one. All right. Brace yourselves. But these are, of course, friendly and nice questions, and I'm sure we're going to learn from each one of you as well. I'm going to go. Coen goes it. All right. I'm going to go with Coen first. Coen, how important is being vulnerable and authentic in your journey as a world-class trainer and speaker? We touched on this a bit, but we hope that you can expound on it.
Yeah, I think being vulnerable and authentic is very important. Why? Because if you want to be a world-class speaker, you need to bring your authentic voice into the speech. So if you speak about leadership, customer service, sales, I mean, these are the evergreen topics that you're speaking about, right? But it's the authentic, the original and unique voice you bring to the topic that really makes a difference. Otherwise, you would be just presenting what people can read in Google. And in today's world, I think people, because of the pandemic, people are so well informed because everything is available virtually. If you don't bring an authentic voice to the table, then you'll be instantly forgettable. You're not actually bringing any value to the table. So that's my take on that.
Mhm. Thanks, Coen. And I think you mentioned the words authentic, right, and unique. And I think what I also learned from Sha is it's important to have sincerity. I think maybe you'd like to comment on this as well. In my experience, it seems that sincerity has more power over maybe the content or the competence. I don't know. That's just how I feel. How anything to say on towards that, Coen, or anybody else?
I think for that, right? I think like I said, we have to embrace our own our own imperfections. My experience was that my lowest moment in my life was I was warded and I spent a night overnight in the mental hospital of Singapore back in 2005. And I remember looking around me and people were like talking to themselves, and for a point of time I was feeling really sorry for myself, like how did I end up here? But when I started looking around, I realized that everybody has got a voice, and these people wouldn't be where they are right now if they have had an opportunity to express themselves. Having suffered from depression for 10 years, finding my voice was the antidote. So what I've learned is expression is the antidote to depression. So when I've learned to own my own voice and own my own imperfections and own my own weirdness, it becomes a gift. It becomes a beautiful gift that I'm able to now inspire audiences with. And so that to me was not just a gift to the audience, but a gift to myself. And now being talking about sincerity, because I've gone through this whole inner journey of healing myself and believing in myself again, now I believe that every speech you give, when Sha said love the audience, I would say love the audience also by believing in the audience. Because I think people, what they really need today in today's world is belief. Somebody to believe in them. People can fly higher if they feel that you believe in them. And so that's how I feel about sincerity.
Coen, we're very grateful that you shared a part of your soul in what you just said, and I think a lot of people need to hear that because, as we know, the people are experiencing different anxieties and maybe depression as well. And so I hope anyone in the audience who just heard what Coen said, please savor it and remember it, write it down, and go back to it at your lowest moments. So thank you, Coen. Let's
Thank you.
go with Srijata. So, Srijata, how did the setbacks in your life help you become the leader and speaker that you are today?
Wow, that's a good question, and it has a long answer and a short answer. Which one do you prefer?
Sure.
No. So I was just joking, but yeah, let me share how did that happen. So there was a time in my life as well. How Coen was mentioning that he landed up in a mental hospital suddenly, and he didn't realize how did it happen. So something similar happened to me. Thank God I didn't have to land up in a mental hospital, but I almost killed myself due to my depression, due to feeling the adequacy, due to I was very suicidal at that point in time, and I was carrying sleeping pills in my bag throughout the day. I would just wander around the roads without knowing where my destination was, what I was doing there, etc., etc. But then around that time, some good soul took me to a counselor, and we sat down and we just started breaking down the whole thing. And once we broke it down, we realized that there was a lot of, I would say, stories I was building in my mind. Most of it were not true, right? What I was thinking in my mind, and that vacuum, that hollowness was breaking me apart. Now, after they pulled me out of this depression, I got an opportunity as an entrepreneur to share about my failures in a stage that was probably one of my biggest stages initially, when I started talking about 150 people, 150 entrepreneurs were there, part of that talk. And So they said that, why don't you come and share your challenges that you're facing as an entrepreneur? So I went up to the stage and I said, to hell with it. I'm going to share all the raw, all the challenges that I've faced, all the failures that I've had, not only in my business, but also in my personal life. So there I went for an hour talking about tuck, 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 all the failures that I've had. I failed in business, I failed in job, I failed in love, I failed in business, and I've lost a lot of money and so on and so forth. Like I failed to take care of my own mental health also for a long time. So after I shared that 1 hour of talk, believe it or not, that was a, I would say serene experience for me. Many people from the audience came up and said, you opened our eyes. You just opened our eyes. You made us realize that a setback, a challenge, a failure is not end of our life. Probably this is just a platform for us to go to the next level, and jump in a bigger trampoline, or jump, take a springboard and grow bigger. That was the day I realized that this has to be my topic. This is what I need to speak about. That's when I started saying that setbacks are awesome. And if you don't have setbacks, you're not growing. Only when you have setbacks, you're really growing, man. So have setbacks, embrace it, right? And just learn your way through it. You will see you have grown far better than your peers who have never faced a challenge. So that's how I ended up being what I do today. Thanks, Coen.
Srijata, I really love your statement, and thanks for saying it now. That setbacks are awesome. We usually associate negative things with setbacks, but awesome is something that we should associate with setbacks. And again, failures, setbacks are just steps to our growth, right? Towards to our best selves. So thank you again, Srijata, for sharing your story. We have a meaningful conversation going on here, and let's continue now with Mike. So Mike, why are you so passionate about the Philippines and the Filipino people?
Wow, malalim ang sagot. I'll speak in Taglish if that's okay with you guys, because I know we've got a lot of folks from the Philippines on this call and listening in. But
someone please translate that for us as well.
I will later.
We'll do the translation later.
We'll take turns.
But I've been living here in the Philippines for 7 years, and I can say with all my heart that this country, living here in this country, has made me a better man. I have traveled to possibly over 40 different countries, and every single country that I've been to, I've always met Filipinos. Filipinos, just like I guess Indians, have spread all around the world, and in almost every single country. Perhaps if you go to Antarctica, I'm sure in the penguins there'll be Filipinos there. So what it's inspired me about Filipinos is how much they give. And right now, I'm in Metro Manila. We're going through lots of floods right now. There's a lot of people right now experiencing a lot of hardships with these floods, but still, there's going to be so much resilience and about bouncing back to those setbacks. And that really is something that not a lot of foreigners, I'm Taga Ireland, I'm from Ireland, I don't think my country would be as strong as the Filipino people when it comes to adversities. So as I'm making these statements about the Philippines, and as I travel across the Philippines as well, what breaks my heart is that so many Filipinos don't believe in themselves. They feel that they're second-class citizens, sometimes third-class citizens. They feel that foreigners are better than them. They feel that they're not good enough or not smart enough to achieve their goals. And it really breaks my heart, because I see so much talent in this country, and yet there's so much malingakala, false belief, hindi kaya, hindi ko kaya, wala akong mararating, wala akong kwenta. These are all negative statements tungkol sa sarili. And I think it's a human condition that it's normal to have these voices. I know we just talked about the voices in our heads, but it breaks my heart to see so many of a nationality have these false beliefs. And I'll share one very short story. I got a chance to speak to overseas Filipino workers, OFWs in the Middle East, and I'll never forget this moment. It was a group of Filipinas called Distressed Filipinas. Now, I think some people on this call will know what that means. So essentially, they're in the embassy of the Philippines in a country in the Middle East, and they're in transit. They've been victims of abuse, they've been victims of horrific things, and they've lost their passport, or their passport has been stolen off them, and they run to the embassy for shelter, and they're staying there for a few weeks until the government can fly them back to the Philippines. So they've been through some heartbreaking stories. And I remember I get an opportunity, because I was invited by the embassy, just to share a short message with these ladies. And it broke my heart, from young women from 17 age to Mangat Lolas, ladies a lot more senior. But I could see in each one of their smiles also the pain that they've gone through in the weeks that they've been overseas, away from their families, have a dream to go to this particular country and create opportunity, and then to have that dream taken away from them, being victims of abuse, horrible stories that I'm sure you can only imagine. And I want to share the message I shared with those ladies. I'll speak this in Taglish. Hindi nagkamali ang Diyos nung ginawa niya ang mga Pilipino. God didn't make a mistake when he met the Filipino. The Filipino, there's so much talent in this country, and it makes me angry when I see foreigners mistreat Filipinos after all the good the Philippines has given the world. And it makes me angry when I see other Filipinos disrespect other Filipinos, sa kapwa. So it breaks my heart, all the injustice and inequality, but I want to keep pushing this positive message, the same message that Sha is pushing about a first world Philippines in our lifetime. I really believe that we can see a first world Philippines in our lifetime where walang iwanan, no Filipino is left behind. And I really believe that the foundation of this dream and pangarap is this belief that the Filipino is worth it. The Filipino is worth dying for. And gusto kong manatili dito sa Pilipinas. So I want to stay in the Philippines because I want to be a catalyst for more and more Filipinos to reach their dreams. And not that because I'm giving them the knowledge, but just reminding them something that they may have been forgotten or been brainwashed by society, that they're second class, and they are not second class. All Filipinos are first class, and this country is going to go through amazing transformation in the next few years, and I'm so excited to be part of it. So that's why I love the Philippines, and that's why I want to stay in the Philippines, because of so much potential dito sa Pilipinas. Thank you, Kat.
Mike, thank you so much. There's so many things running in my head right now that I want to say, but first, let me give you a hug. This is on behalf of every Filipino here in the Philippines and around the world. Thank you very much for believing in us, and that's what people are saying in the comments. Thank you for that appreciation, Mike. That's from Tita Anita. And thank you for believing in us. Thank you for believing in us. It was flashed earlier in here. Now it's smashed. It's flashed on the screen. I truly appreciate your love for Filipinos, Mike. And I think we needed that, especially during our weather today. So thank you so much. Now let's hear from someone who was also shy prior to being a global speaker herself. Sha, can someone who is so shy and introverted, just like you, shine as an entrepreneur and a speaker?
And the answer is yes. That's the quick answer. The answer is yes, because for you to be a great speaker and a great entrepreneur, you don't need to be so loud, and you don't need to talk all the time. Like what Mike, Srijata, and Coen said a while ago, what you need is the heart to serve and the ears to really listen and care. If you have that, because as entrepreneurs, what you need to have, your role as an entrepreneur is not to sell your products. Your role as an entrepreneur is to really listen, to care for the other people, and find ways to give solutions to their problems. So if you're shy, you can still do it. You can still do that. And also as a speaker, again, it's so important to know how to really listen. Listen more than you speak.
And that harkens back to what Srijata mentioned earlier, that sometimes, well, I guess this phrase applies to our discussion as well about speaking. Less is more. Less talking, there's more people who will learn as well from what we briefly say. And I think that's the best way we can touch people's hearts as well. All right, I go back to everyone. I just have one more question since we're nearing the end of our discussion, which I'm a little sad about, but let's make the most of the minutes, these few minutes together. if any one of you, if you were given a minute, just a minute, to share an important message to the world,
Wow.
what would be that message?
So I'll go first here, and I wouldn't even take a minute. I would probably take 30 seconds. And I'll just say, embrace your setbacks, grow with them, use them as opportunities, and see how you grow and flourish. That's all.
Thank you, Srijata. Wants to go next?
I'll go next. Still come back to the idea of embracing your imperfections and your weirdness, because weirdness makes you different. And for me, in my case, my sensitivity became my empathy. Without that, I would never be the empath and empathetic person that I am today. And so that's what I'll share.
Thank you. Thank you, Coen. We appreciate your sensitivity as well. Mike?
Ang Filipino ay namumukod. I will speak in Filipino, and I would just remind the world about the potential here in this country. I want more Westerners, I want more people around the world to see the talent that's here in the Philippines and to partner with more Filipinos, so we have less Filipinos needing to leave the country for economic reasons. And that's my dream for a first world Philippines. So I want all Filipinos to hear that, but all foreigners. There's some great talent here in this country. So dito sa Pilipinas, more fun in the Philippines.
That's true.
I'm coming there. I'm joining you, Mike, there in Manila. I had a great time last time when I was there, so I'm joining you there.
Mike,
Yes.
Wait to have
my
you back.
Mike, my entire team is based in Philippines, man. So I need you to become my Taglish or Tagalog mentor.
Walang problema. I can do it.
Walang imanan, leave no man behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you say that? Yeah. I need to learn from you.
Thank you, Paul.
And Sha?
Okay, so my message would be, I believe that you have what it takes to be who you want to be. Because number one, you are worthy, you are enough. And number two is because you are loved. A lot of times we're trying to prove ourselves to other people or even to ourselves because we feel we're not enough. But if you just embrace the truth that you are enough and that you are so loved even without doing anything, then you can really fly. And the other thing I want to share is that see everything through the lens of gratitude.
Thank you, Sha.
You're
See
welcome.
everything with the lens of gratitude, and gratitude is really important to Sha. And I think the ones who are commenting in the chat as well share the same sentiments. And we, of course, in Wright University, me, Sha, Kim, Clarice, and Eunice, on behalf of our team, thank you, Srijata. Thank you, Coen. Thank you, Mike, for gracing us with your presence this afternoon. So many people are inspired. So many people are touched. And I think that is the point of having speaking skills, right? And so we would like to thank you very much again for being with us this afternoon, and have a good weekend.
Maraming
So-
salamat.
Yes.
Iki nagagalak kitang makilala.
Thank you.
Maraming.
Hey, now looks like even I need to learn the language a little bit, if not more.
Yay,
Yes,
thank you, Kat.
definitely.
And also, I just want to thank again Mike, Coen, Srijata, and of course, Kat. They're all my friends, and it's so important to build really authentic and meaningful connections. They're here because they just really want to give value to you guys, to everyone who's participating in the Speak to Thrive Summit, and you really attract your tribe. So be the person you want to attract, and then you can attract these kinds of people. So I'm so grateful to these friends of mine. I don't even call them colleagues, but really friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sha. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.